Hello and welcome. Today I'm adding a few games from Atari Collection 1 to my ever-growing list where I rank every Evercade game ever. These are the remaining games from the collection I haven't already included, and for the most part I don't have a huge amount to say about these games, so I'm pretty much just including them in this one quick video. Starting with Gravitar. Based on the arcade game of the same name, the 2600 port of Gravitar retains the lunar lander style physics as you guide your spaceship with controlled thrusts through a series of planets and bases, taking out enemy reactors and so on and so forth. It might not look like much, but the physics-based gameplay can be quite fun. But there are other similar games I would rather play, such as Lunar Lander. To place it on my ranking list, I've elected to put it above Colony 7, but below Aero the Acrobat, placing it at 253 out of 370 odd games that I've ranked so far. So moving on to Crystal Castles, this obviously being the 2600 version. In Crystal Castles you guide Bentley Bear through various single screen mazes, dodging enemies and collecting gems. It is somewhat of a cut down port from the arcade original, and it really doesn't look like much. And controlling it on a D-pad isn't ideal, but once you get used to it there is a fairly fun game here, but I would much rather play the arcade original. So I've elected to place it on my list above Treasure Island Dizzy, but below the Curse of Ilmore Bay, placing it at 264 out of 370 something. Moving on to Night Driver, again the 2600 version, and once again it's not as good as the arcade original. As I'm sure you know, Night Driver involves you driving at night, trying to not crash into the side of the road. It's basic, but it is a very early sort of first person racing game, and it works quite well with the 2600, but again I would much rather play the arcade original, and I'm not a huge fan of that anyway. So placing on my ranking list, I'm placing it above the Movie Monster game but below Super Sidekicks, placing it at 330 out of 370 something games. Next up is Steeplechase, a horse racing jumping game for, you guessed it, the 2600. It's a rather simple game, and yeah, I really don't like this. It's just not my jam, never had much of a chance, and things like this don't generally hold up too well anyway. So I'm just going to get straight on with ranking it, and I am ranking it above Collie Defense but below Street Racer for the 2600, placing it at 373 out of 382 games that I've ranked so far. And finally for this video I'm covering Yar's Return, also for the 2600. This is a homebrew sequel to Yar's Revenge, and is generally considered an inferior homebrew sequel, and I was never a huge fan of Yar's Revenge, and this is noticeably worse, taking the basic concept and not quite doing it right. So to rank it, I am putting it above Premier Manager 97 but below Juggling Balls, placing it at 352 out of 383 games that I've ranked so far. And that's it for today's video. These games, like I said, I didn't have a huge amount to say about them, had no real interest in revisiting them any more than I needed to get a little bit of gameplay footage. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.